Welcome back, everybody. The ancient poet Rumi once said, "The satiated man and the hungry man do not see the same thing when they look upon a loaf of bread." All these years later, it's still so true. Our perception of food varies depending on our relationship with it.
Can this ancient poet help me not eat an entire bag of chips when I'm feeling down, maybe? Here to explain more about our relationship with food is happiness researcher from Western University, Gillian Mandich. Welcome back.
So we all have such different relationships with food. So what role does psychology play when it comes to how we eat?
So psychology looks at the study of human behavior. And then when we look specifically at food psychology, there's two pieces that are really important. So the behaviors around food, so how we eat, how we cook, how we shop, that sort of piece. And then the other piece is the cognitive piece, what we think about food. So why we want to or don't want to lose weight, what we think about what's healthy and what's not. So together, the whole thing creates this picture of how we look at food.
So different people see the same food in different ways. For example, I love steak. The way I feel about steak is joy. However, Mel is a pescatarian. She avoids meat.
She does a lot of this.
Yes, exactly. It's disgust.
Yeah.
So how, if say though, we were both, Mel and I, to eat a piece of steak, would it be processed differently or the same way through our bodies?
So you'd think when you put a plate of food in front of someone, it would be the same no matter who you are. And yet, if you put a plate, say with chicken and some rice and a salad, in front of a athlete, they would look at the protein and the fat in the plate. A vegetarian might look and see a slaughtered chicken. Someone that's a dietitian might look at the different vitamins and minerals that are in that dish. So not only do we see food differently, but how our body responds to that is also different. So if we're stressed or we're anxious, the way we look at the plate impacts how it's digested in our body.
Well, actually, I've done a lot of research on pleasure for my website, and one of the studies I came across that I found really interesting was that when we're eating, if we feel stressed out or guilty about what we're eating, that it raises our cortisol levels, our stress hormone, and that makes us hang on to fat. So we actually gain weight when we're eating stressfully, as opposed to eating like pleasure-filled and enjoying our meals, which can actually help us, not like reduce weight. Is this true?
Yes, absolutely. So the way we look at food matters. Yeah, right? It matters. It's not just as simple as how many calories or how much fat. The psychological approach that we take to our food is really, really important. So say, for example, you had a donut and you really wanted to eat the donut, but you were feeling pretty guilty about it, extra sugar, extra calories. If you felt that guilt when you consumed it, it's digested completely differently in your body. So more likely to be stored as fat, more likely to not be digested as well, as opposed to if you looked at it with pleasure. And the same thing applies to healthy food. So say you looked at your plate and you're like, oh, chicken and vegetables again, and you have that, same thing. You have this inhibitory response in your digestive system. So not only does your body not absorb it, it also affects your hormones. So things like cortisol, like you mentioned, which can reduce the absorption and also increase fat storage.
That's amazing. Okay, so Gillian, some foods are like music to me. It's that whole, I remember where I was when I ate that, that kind of thing. What is the connection between food and nostalgia?
There is such a connection. We all can think of certain foods and it brings up memories. Say, for example, you're craving ice cream. It could be because as a child, you were running down the street and you were chasing after the ice cream truck and it made you feel really free and fun. And so research suggests that yes, there is a cognitive link between our association with food and what we remember. So, I mean, it makes sense. When we were born, food became what we needed to survive. And then as we get older, our culture comes into play, what our parents taught us about food, learning from media, from advertising, and it starts to become more complicated than just eat to survive. And so depending on our relationship with food, it can be a pleasureful thing, it can be stressful, it can be a variety of different things beyond just calories in, calories out.
But why is it, Gillian, that some of the foods that make us feel good, like say sweet foods, like candy, generally not, they're not the ones that are good for us, they're bad for us. They make us feel good, but they're not good for us.
We all know, right?
We know so well.
There definitely is that relationship with food where even in a negative situation, so say for example, you're feeling really stressed out, and so you reach for that tub of ice cream to help. What happens is you're feeling stressed, you eat the ice cream, you feel better. So in your brain, it makes that connection. So it says, okay, every time I'm stressed, if I have ice cream, I'm gonna feel better. So it strengthens that pattern. It kind of greases the groove so that it perpetuates it over and over again. Same as if you're feeling stressed or anxious, the same pattern can happen.
But, okay, I'm following. But are there certain foods we can reach for to make us feel happier?
Yes.
That are better for us? Like better foods?
Yes.
Not just like candy, not just chips, but good foods?
Yeah, like we all know what it's like to eat a really healthy meal and afterwards to feel energized and really full of life and vigor, right? And we also know what it's like to eat, say, like a Thanksgiving dinner where after we feel lethargic and tired.
Yeah.
So what we eat impacts how we feel. And in terms of happiness, there are certain foods that we can eat to boost our happiness. One in particular are probiotics. So probiotics are really good for your gut, and there's research that they brought a bunch of participants into a lab over in Denmark, actually, and some of the people had a probiotic supplement they took for 4 weeks. The other group took a placebo, so an inert pill. At the end of the study, the people that took the probiotic had less sad reactions to stressful or sad evoking things. Yes. So knowing this, incorporating more fermented foods into our diet, sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, things like that, or even considering taking a probiotic can be really important because our gut is literally modulated by our mind.
Whoa!
Yeah. Another...
So, Gillian, I think we came from the generation when we were kids that we were told to eat everything on our plate, whether we were full or not, right? Everyone can relate to that. But whereas, like, I think that right now the mentality is that you get kids to try to be more aware of when they're actually full. So tell us, though, how can we learn to know when we're actually full?
So yeah, that's a great question because oftentimes what we see in terms of eating, there's more going on to the equation than just that. And so things like our plate size, our spoon size, how food is presented, it all impacts the way that we eat. We don't just eat with our tongue, we eat with all of our senses. There's a really iconic study done with soup bowls. So again, they brought participants into a lab. One group had these special magical bowls where from under the table, the soup kept filling up, so the bowl didn't empty. And then the other group had the traditional, you pour the soup. At the end of the study, the people with the magic bowls ate almost twice as much soup as the other group, and they both reported feeling the same amount of satiation.
Okay.
So there's more going on than just what we're eating. There's a bunch of visual cues, too.
Okay, so we've established the fact that I'm really attracted to sugary and sweet foods. But I also really like foods that look good, that look pretty. So what about appearance? How does that affect us?
So not only taste is obviously a very important part of the eating experience, but we also eat with our eyes.
Yes, we do.
So the look of food, how it's presented, we tend to prefer food that is bite-sized, which is why we eat a lot more hors d'oeuvres when we're out at a party than we intended to do. And there was a really interesting study done with M&Ms, those candies. And
Know
so,
them well.
Yeah, I'm sure we've never. And so the M&Ms, one group was given a bowl of 300 M&Ms, 7 colors. The other group, 10 colors, same amount of M&Ms. The people that had 10 options ate 43% more because we like variety.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. Holy smokes. Okay, so let's say some of us want to change our eating habits, maybe make them a little healthier. What's the best way to start in order to set ourselves up for success?
So the best place to start is probably the grocery store, right? Okay. That's where we're gonna get our food. And so when you're pushing your cart, try to fill the front of your cart, what you see, with healthy fruits and vegetables, because our brain wants to fill in the cart. And so if it seems full, we're much happier.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much, Gillian, for all these happiness-related food tips. For more information on this, head to thesocial.ca after today's show, and don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back.
Up next, our hosts weigh in on our latest social chapter pick, New York Times bestseller, The Hate U Give.